Howdy, howdy. We are back. It has been a hot minute, I think about 6 months, since our last video, and I am deeply apologetic for that. I have had a time. As you can see, we're in a new set, a new studio apartment, so to speak, and we are ready to start, hopefully, smashing out some more videos and some more new projects. So the first thing we want to look at is what's the next thing we're doing? Well, I really want to start making the projects that I work on look a lot prettier. I think the way that we're going to do that is to start incorporating jewelry techniques into the production process. The first of those that we're going to be working on is engraving. Now, there's been one video, I think it was a reel, where I did a little bit of engraving. I made some tools. Those tools sucked. So we're going to be making some more. I don't want to waste too much of your time, so what we're going to do, firstly, is try to make our own engraving tools. Buying engraving tools is a pain in the ass. As much as I would love to have some of the pneumatic hand pieces from like GRS and Lindsay, those cost like upwards of $2,000. I ain't made of money. I've got like 100 followers on this channel. I'm not making GRS cash. So we're going to start making our own hammer and chisel tools again. In order to get the steel for that, I have purchased a bunch of old files from a dude in, I don't know, a couple suburbs over. He was getting rid of a bunch of crappy, worn out files that are hopefully made of some nice tool steel. So what we're going to do is head over to the forge, get rid of the teeth on those, and then we're going to start processing them and turning them into our first batch of gravers. All we're doing here is knocking off the teeth of the grinder, and then we'll be shaping each of these graver blanks into the respective tip shapes that I'm looking for. We spent a hot second yesterday making our graver sets. At the end of that, we have a knife edge graver. Can we see that? Yeah, there we are. We've got a knife edge graver. We have a whole set of flat gravers. And finally we have 2 V-gravers. So hopefully with all of these lovely little bits of kit, we can do some engraving and we can do some proper inlays. The work on these is not over yet. I would like to cut them all to about 4 inches in length, then round over the back end so that they're nice and easy to hit with a hammer. And then after that, we can harden and temper each one of them. Once we're done that, we should be able to give it a red hot go. I've cleaned them up, scratched some descriptions on them. All that's left to do now is give each and every one of these a heat treat. We also added some inlay punches as well. Now, having done a little bit of knife making since the production of this video, I now know that I let the tips of these get way too hot, which I think is probably going to be the source of some issues that come up in a moment. The first process that we want to test these gravers out on is some inlaying. To do that, the first step is going to be to scratch out your design. Here I just did the logo that I've chucked on a few different bits of my pottery before. After this, we need to recess the lines by cutting into the corners of the square channel. Finally, we can put a bit of brass into that channel and hammer it in. Then all you need to do is sand it flush. I had a lot of trouble with graver sharpness during that. That was a lot less fun than I thought it was going to be. Alright, we are down to the last few wires here. And I'm feeling pretty confident this is all going to pop straight back up as soon as we start sanding it back. So we've finished making all of our gravers. Now all we've got left to do is give it our first test run. I think the one that's going to be best for the job is this 90-degree square graver. It's not quite straight, you can see there, bit wonky, who gives a shit. We'll give it a go, see how we feel, and figure out what the plan is from there. We're just going to be engraving these shapes. Pretty easy, all you got to do, slap that there, grab some acetone, and it'll transfer it, nice and simple. Cool, so we did our first one. Now, I think we've got a bit of an issue here. I think this goes a little bit beyond this being a problem of skill. So that's our graver point, looks nice and whatever. But for some reason, I don't know how visible this is gonna be, but we're getting this, like obviously there's a bunch of bits like through here, it's awful, that's just me, that's awful, that's just me. But there's a bunch of bits in here. You can see a little bit of it here. Can I get the light to hit a little different? You see it up through there as well. There's this weird chatter that's happening. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I can't figure it out. I've done a few other practice pieces since then, and I think what I'm gonna need to do is buy some real gravers and see how we feel, because I can't quite explain why that's happening. So probably best to just leave it to the professionals and see how we feel. So yeah, so I think I'll have to bug off to a jeweler and get some crap then. Anyway, well I guess that'll be the next thing you see. Alright, so we're back. This is our original one. We have purchased ourselves a real square graver from Valorbe. It is on a insanely long handle, so that's probably not going to help, but hopefully this will give us an idea of how well our cuts are going to be. So we'll give it a go, see how we feel, and we'll get back to you. Cool, so that is so much better than the last one. I hope you can kind of see that. It was so much easier to control, cuts way better. I definitely think the hardening process that I'm doing needs a bit of work, but I've also spent a bit of time doing a second practice plate. We've just put this one back for the next test. However, I polished off this sheet. I went a little lighter, but I also sanded back on this, which is why it's a little thinner. Some of these are better than others, but we're definitely making some progress here with the professional gravers. Now, I have one last idea. Don't know how easy it is to see here. We're still getting that chatter. The cuts that I'm making aren't the crisp, clean ones that you see all the professionals doing. Oh yeah, you can really see that there. I think that it's all down to my graver geometry and my sharpening abilities. So I think the next thing to do is to remove human error as much as I can from the equation. And to do that, I think we need to create an entire new bloody graver system. So there's some plastic templates that I found online. Then after that, all we're gonna need is some high-speed steel for the gravers. We're gonna get some collets, we're gonna get some other bits and bobs, and then we'll make all of the fittings for them on the lathe. I am very excited for that. So we shall get that underway. So I've done a quick rudimentary tech drawing in order to do this properly and not have to waste any time just eyeballing it, which is a problem that I've noticed I have. Instead, this time, I've drawn out the designs, I've got my measurements, and the pieces that we're gonna make are a handle, a collet holder, and then a jig that's going to be used with the stencils that we're going to make in a second. Cool, with that we have finished shaping all of our templates. We are very happy with how they came out. So all that's left to do on these now is to drill an 8mm and probably a 3mm hole through the big circle and then the dot at the bottom. Big one is where the fixture is going to go. The little one is where a locking pin is going to fit. I'll probably do that off camera if I'm honest. So the old process you saw me doing very briefly was putting one of our gravers inside this sharpening jig and then very carefully and very wobbly running it back and forth. That was pretty bad. It's very difficult to get a usable geometry. Then when it came to using the stool ball gravers, the issue that we had there was that they did not fit in the jig. And so I had to sharpen them all by hand, just by very carefully running them back and forth. That also sucked immensely. It also meant that I couldn't really get the geometries that I was looking for. So with this final method, we're going for what I hope to be the best system yet. Now, in order to do this, we need to start with a bit of high-speed steel. That is this. So this is just a little bit of 3mm round high-speed steel that I just bought online. It is annoyingly expensive and annoyingly hard to find. Apparently it's much easier to get in the States. So I bought some of that. The next step is to then put it inside the sharpening jig that we made, and then put the sharpening jig inside one of the templates that we made, and that ends up looking like this. Now normally there'd be a little pin through the back, but I've lost it, so for the meantime I have just been winging it. In any case, this is actually the sharpening jig. I've just realized this is the one that we use to shape, and I find that if you just hit each side reasonably evenly, you get a acceptable geometry. After we're done that and we get a nice geometry to our graver, we then chuck it in our sharpening jig. We then take off the main face with this, and then the heel are cut with these. And the heels are crucial. After all that, you'll be left with a lovely graver with what I hope to be a lovely geometry. See if you can see that there. Yeah, so I think this is a reasonably well done one, but at the very least, it means we can get to work. All right, so we are back at the bench. This hasn't gone, a bit like the graver template you saw earlier. This hasn't gone exactly to plan. We've got a little bit of a gap there. This is going to be a pain in the ass to take off when I need to, but it's also, as you can see, got a bit of a bend to it, which I think shouldn't be a massive issue, but all that sharpening you watched me do has resulted in this bad boy, which I am very pleased with. This, I think, is the best geometry I've ever had. I say that having no idea how well this is going to cut, but we'll give it a go, see how we feel. I think we might be onto the winner here. Well, we happen to have skidded out a few times, but I think as far as the graver goes itself, that is an absolute success. We have nowhere near the amount of like chatter marks as the previous attempts. We actually have some bright cuts coming along, which is cool. Yeah, look, honestly, I think I might piss around with some different dimensions on the gravers, but I reckon we found ourselves a winning formula here. So I think we might just try practicing a little more. Just a quick sign off. The culmination of this video is going to be very important to the last episode of the small sword build that we're currently doing. Technically that's finished in real space and time, but the video is coming. So please wait out for that. In the meantime, if you're keen on that, do chuck us a subscribe, give us a like, add a comment. All of that helps. We're still building the channel. These are the humble origins, I hope. So in any case, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate every view I get, particularly if you made it this far. So I'll see you in the next one.